This is one of the most popular questions that I get that people ask me. And it's why do some women thrive when they move abroad and others just like can't wait to leave? And I thought about it a long time because I've been living abroad for 17 years now. And I've lived on four different continents and I've moved abroad at least five times now, right? I'm currently based in France and I moved to France twice. And I've lived a total of about a decade in France, right? And so I think I'm thriving living abroad. In fact, I really, 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 really love my life abroad. And while everything doesn't go the same way, and I have tons of ebbs and flows, I have highs, I have lows, I have sometimes I go through depressive valleys of things. Um, but still, the question of why do some women thrive when they live abroad and others do not is an interesting question for me. And I wondered about it. And I don't know, I think there's one part that women, some women thrive abroad while others just want to leave. Yes, we can say it comes down to mindset. That is a huge part of it. Um, but I think there is even something a bit more practical, and it's really around life design and building the life that you want. And yes, that like envelopes mm, mindset. And in order to build the life and design the life that you want, you need to also like have a plan. I need to be like willing to be resilient and all of those things. And so yes, there is mindset, but I think it really is down to how women go about, those women go about building and putting in place little joys and the things that they want in their life to make it content, despite the overwhelm, despite the admin, despite the paperwork, despite the nostalgia, despite missing out on key moments. How how you create and include moments and curate those moments of joy that mean something specific to you and it's what you want and it's the way you want to live your life. I think that's why women thrive and others can't wait to leave. It just goes down to, and that's another part which is kind of like woo woo spiritual, is that sometimes the environment is just not attached to you. And like you're not connected to the environment over here. Sometimes it just means that you need to move to a different city. Uh, like not even like move from the city life to the countryside, move from countryside to more of a city. Sometimes you need to just move countries. So I remember when I was living in Colombia, I lived in Colombia for a little bit over a year. And I actually had everything in terms of what I wanted for my life. It really was, I really did include everything. And I was with really good friends living in Colombia, and my life was really smooth on paper, etc. But somehow, I was living in a city called Facatativa, which is like about 30 minutes away from Bogota. And while I really like Facatativa, Faca as they call it, because it was a small town, people knew me, I had a schedule, I had friends, I had a job, everything. And I could easily get to Bogota, which rained a lot. Oh my God, Bogota rained so much. But I just did not feel connected to Colombia. And Colombia is a wonderful country. There's so much biodiversity. When I traveled around, I went to Cartagena. I did a little bit of Cali, etc. Did I go to Cali? No, I actually didn't go to Cali, but one of my friends are from Cali. But I traveled to Tequila. Tequila is not Tequila. What am I saying? Oh, I forget the names right now. Toledo, I think. I forget the names right now. But I traveled around into some of the more popular areas of Colombia, like I said, Santa Marta, Cartagena, Barranquilla, etc. And then I also went to smaller towns. Oh, Mariquita. Mariquita. I really liked Mariquita because this was where one of my friends' grandparents lived, etc. And I had like even Doha, I had smaller towns and more touristic popular vibe. And even with me having a really, really good time, um, and also becoming more immersed in the culture because I lived with Colombians and I had really good friends who are Colombians who I could ask questions and who I could understand, who I could, talk with and discuss to understand cultural nuances, differences, and just gain a better perspective of life in Colombia. I personally just did not feel connected to Colombia. It was a rather neutral feeling that I had about living in Colombia. Like it wasn't, I didn't dislike it at all, but I didn't love it either. And I asked myself, like, could I see myself living here for 1 more year, for 5 more years, 10 years? And I just couldn't arrive at yes. And I asked myself that question in different cities and different places around Colombia when I traveled. And it's one of the things that I do. Like whenever I travel, even if I solo travel or when I move abroad to a different country, after a while I tend to ask myself like, would I live here? How connected do I feel? And it's I don't know, it's kind of like intuition or like spiritually or something. But I do ask myself this question quite often and every time I go someplace. And I just could not arrive at yes in when I was in Colombia. And I asked myself that question a few times throughout the year that I was there, and it was just never a it was kind of like wishy-washy. And if there's one thing in life is if it's not a yes, it's a no. If it's a it's a no. If it's not a clear yes, it's a no, right? And so I never really got a clear yes. And so while I was satisfied and I was happy, I don't think I thrived in Colombia because I just couldn't connect and attach to Colombia as opposed to when I was in India. I I was not very, very happy with my work in India, with like workplace culture in India. But I did feel a lot more connected to India, for example, than I did for Colombia. But I would say for sure I had a better life objectively on paper, etc., and just things and finances, income, freedoms, etc., in Colombia than I had in India. But I guess my soul, I don't know, I felt more connection to the land, to the environment in India, excuse me, than I did in Colombia. And I think that's something that women do not think about, and maybe that's something that you should think about if you're planning on moving abroad or when you do get here, and if you are currently here, think about like, do I see myself here in this country, in this city, in this environment, in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? Can you see yourself like living here? For me, I can see myself in France, 5 years, 10 years, even when I've gone through so many ups and downs in France. Just because life happens wherever you are, right? Even with all of that, like I can still see myself living in. And because I feel connected to this place, and I think for me it feels like home. For varied reasons, for so many reasons, France feels like home for me. But the point I'm making is ask yourself those questions and then you will see, like, even sometimes on paper, when objectively your life is like really doing well and you're curating and putting those things, sometimes you're just not at peace in the country or in the place or the environment where you are currently abroad. And that can impact like whether you thrive or not. And I think also we should look at what the meaning of thrive means. You know, like how everybody has a different meaning for success, and success means different things to different people. Like, what does thriving mean for you? For me, it is meaning being able to curate the life that I want and design it in the way that I want with the things and the moments that I want. And having being able to plan towards that and seeing how I'm able to plan towards that. It's always a journey, it's always a process. So I don't have to have everything all at once everywhere, but I just need to know and feel confident that along this journey, along this process of curating and designing and carving out my little space of life in this world, on this planet, can I see that and can I do that confidently, happily, satisfied in a way that I can be content and at peace? Do I see myself doing that in this place, in this country where I am? That is part of thriving for me. And then also just how do I connect? How do I feel? Do I feel at peace with where I am? That adds to thriving. And then you can add all of like the other financial things, health, um, disposable income, jobs, cost of living, etc. Like all of those things are, yeah, you put them in, but are you able to thrive? Do I feel like I'm able to bloom into who I am or who I want to become? Do I feel like I have access to resources to be able to do that? And if the answer is yes, then that for me is I am thriving in this part. And then you can check for like tangible things like, okay, so you had all of these lists. What's going on? Is it happening? Do you have this? Is it better than the last place? Is it better than where you were 2 years ago, etc.? Like I think the women who are thriving abroad are able to have a good picture of what it means and what they're trying to achieve and what they have received and achieved in their life abroad. And then other women who want to leave, like, just feel, oh my God, it's not it. I think there is just disconnect everywhere in terms of their objective. They might be a little bit cloudy and not clear about it. And you just have to, know what you want or what you don't want. Sometimes Sometimes you don't even need to know what you want. If you know what you absolutely don't want, that is enough. That is a good sign. I know what I don't want, and I don't have those things that I don't want. They're not in my life. And like creating those things is also a way to be like, okay, I'm thriving. I think that's part of where I say like mindset is important, or not. I lost my train of thought. What's new? What is new with you losing her train of thought? How do you thrive? How do you know when you're thriving abroad? Or just in general in life? Like, yes, I know we're talking about abroad and stuff like this, but how do you know? Tell me in the comments, how do you know? And this is something that I work with with clients, is that understanding why, and this is why part of my workshop is just really important to gain clarity on why you're trying to move. I really work on my laptops. Let me plug this in. I really work on through my one-on-ones, through my workshop, really coaching on understanding and figuring out that kind of clarity first before you make all this jump to move abroad, because it's not simple, and it's never what is on paper. Yes, what's on paper and all of the checklists that you might have and all of the requirements that the country and the prefecture and the visa says, all of those things matter and all of those things are important. But then when you get here, it's never just that. Or when you get here, it's never just that, and it's never only, what's on paper. And there's so many things because life is so unpredictable and there's so much serendipity, there's so many surprises um that life can throw at you and that life comes with that. I mean, I don't know, it's like first jump, like it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. You never know what you're gonna get, even when you try to plan and you have everything aligned. And you try to get as aligned as possible with your mission. Sometimes life just throws you a curveball. Sometimes it blooms and expands into like different ways. So just like positive and negative, you never really know what's happening. But if you're clear, it helps you to be able to pivot. It helps you to be able to remain adaptable, and to be flexible with how your life pans out as you go along your journey. And it's not, like it's not about having a rigid plan and having your checklist and your list and your structure and everything. Yes, you do need to know a couple of things and you do need to have clarity, but that clarity allows you to be flexible because you're not muddling along, you're not fumbling along through life when you have some kind of clarity. Like even when there is darkness and you don't really know what's going on and you can't really see the path ahead of you, like you will know with clarity you can know what one step is. And then you get one step and then there's a little bit of light. And then you can see around and you're like, okay, well, I should keep going, or there seems to be a fork in the road. Maybe I want to shift a little bit, or you're like, oh, I step forward and there's like I see like a big wall coming up. Maybe I want to turn back or whatever. But if you muddle through life with your eyes closed and you're like searching where, then you're never able to see what's in front of you or what's around you. And you're just going to bump into things with whatever life throws you. Like you're not able to react, you're not able to adapt, you're not able to be flexible about it. And I think that's what um people miss when they like they're ready to leave, is that many times it might just be that they haven't gotten clear enough about what they want. And then I think also there is no shame in decisively giving up. That's still courage. Decisively giving up on something is also courage. Who said that? It's Yoongi from BTS. I'm an army. But it's also courage. It also takes a lot of courage to decisively give up on something and to be saying, you know what? I want to leave. This is not working out for me. I'm going back home. I'm going to do something else. Mm. There is no shame in that. And I don't think there should be shame where you should feel incompetent or inadequate or any kind of like shame attached to, you know what, I tried this and it didn't work out. Because, like I said previously in one of my videos, everything has a lesson of growth. And when you fail, and I'm trying to remind myself of this all the time, when you fail, you always learn something. And for me, once you learn something, you've grown. And you're just a better version of who you are before you learn the thing. That's like I don't know. I like you're just a better person having learned something new about yourself, about a situation, about a failure, about a win, about an achievement, about whatever. You have just expanded and you've just grown and you've just evolved who you are. And I think that is only a positive. Like I don't see a negative there ever. Like no, this can never be a negative thing to learn. And I think that's also like why I am this huge lifelong learner. And while I don't like the feeling of being a beginner and it's uncomfortable and sometimes I have to like get comfy with the discomfort of being a beginner and knowing and learning things. I still love learning and I will forever be like a lifelong learner because I just know for me it's just always a positive and I'm going to grow from it and in ways that maybe I'll expect and in ways that I won't expect and I'll discover something new and that for me is the essence of life and that's the essence of thriving in life. Yeah, what was I saying? I've lost my thought again. Oh my God. The ADHD is ADHDing today. Hmm. It's gone. I had a wonderful little phrase that maybe I was gonna say, and it's just now poof. New Deidre is here. Mm, I don't know. I think I'm going to like leave it here because my brain, it's now what I call the muddle puddle, and my brain is now flying all over the place. I'm going to leave it here. Why do you think people thrive? Some women thrive abroad while others really just can't wait to get to leave the place. Tell me in the comments, and let's bring the discussion there. And if you want to work with me, I have private one-on-one sessions where I coach through either whether you want to move abroad, you have questions about solo travel, or you just have just general questions around what is life like in France or life abroad, etc. There's a one-on-one. And if you're particularly interested in moving to France, then I do have a monthly workshop called Move to France The Essentials, where you work through the main things that you will need to get ready for your move abroad. Any case, let me know why women thrive, why you think women thrive abroad, and while others don't. And if you forgot, I'm Deidre, and I help women move abroad to live the lives that they desire because they deserve it, because you deserve it. See you next time. Ciao.